but it's gonna. Yeah. So that's the price without any incentives. That's just like the price without any incentives. But the actual economics are even better than that.
What could be Cybertruck leaked pricing for this exact model. For launch, Tesla will be releasing a dual-motor Cybertruck and a tri-motor Performance. These have been confirmed in VIN decoders through NHTSA, and now a potential customer has anonymously posted about their Cybertruck pricing. They have an early reservation, and Tesla reached out for them to take delivery of one of the first 500 Cybertrucks, seemingly on or around November 30th. There are dual motor and tri-motor options as expected, and then autopilot options. That's all, and the total price will be $98,990 prior to their FSD upgrade. That's significantly more than originally announced.
They're rebranding the dual-motor Cybertruck into an all-wheel drive variant, and Tesla's website basically disproved a lot of the leaks and rumors. A lot of the ones that I reported on basically ended up not being true. According to Tesla's own website on the configurator, where you basically only have 3 choices, no tire options or anything, they say that the dual-motor Cybertruck, which is the one that's in production right now, that's kind of the one they're starting deliveries with, uses 42.9 kilowatt hours every 100 miles, and the range of that dual motor is actually 340 miles, not the 300 or 290 that a lot of us thought it was going to be. So Tesla probably was sandbagging on the range a little bit in the software. I'm very happy about that. 340 is much more in line with what I was expecting, but the efficiency was not as great as I was thinking either, because it's a higher voltage architecture. I thought it might be a little bit more aerodynamic thanks to that sloped back design, but yeah, based on Tesla's own numbers on the website, this means that the dual motor Cybertruck that they refer to as all-wheel drive is like 146 kilowatt hours. 146 kilowatt hours going 340 miles of range. That's not great. The Rivian has like 135 kilowatt hour pack, and that goes 350 miles. And the dual motor all-wheel drive Cybertruck that's in production right now is $80,000, just $10 below that limit, so it should qualify for the tax credit, which will be a point of sale rebate later on.
Hey guys. And as you know, the Cybertruck's been out for almost a month now. And the biggest thing that I've seen, especially about the Cybertruck, is that it just costs too much money. Like the Foundation series being almost $100,000 just makes no sense. So this is going to be day one of working towards the Tesla charger, which is going to be a nice project that I'm going to love. So next part of this video is going to be about designing and the thought process behind the RamCharger, and also on how we have it designed, stuff like that, and what I'm personally wanting out of the vehicle, and just the whole entirety process of like the overview. So part one of this is my initial thoughts for my plans for the Tesla charger. So the plan is to get at least like a Ram 2500, a GMC 2500, something along those lines, and pretty much do a initial conversion. Now, what led to me wanting to have this swapping compatibility is Boosted Boys. So they pretty much made a Honda Odyssey minivan and combined it with a Model S Plaid, which is stupid. He now has plans in the outreach from his community to pretty much design one with a Model X on top of it with like another minivan that he has, or something along those lines. He's stupidly fun to watch, and I'm just like, that is a great idea, but it's not what I need. So what I've been doing since my last videos on YouTube were mainly just a lot of ride sharing, because that's what's available here in South Jersey outside of Philadelphia for the most part. And for a while it was good money and it worked out. Currently I have 100 and not 123,000 yet. I have 112,000 miles with my Tesla. I keep my charge between 80 and 30% for the most part for most of my day doing split shift. If I drive in the morning, it's like 6:30 until 9 because it's pretty much dead afterwards. Nobody's really going to work unless they're extra late. And I just drive home, not that far away from home, like less than 11 miles if I go straight, 17 miles if I am taking the highway. All depends from my initial location. And then the evening hours is more like 2:30 to 7. But it's just not working in this economy right now, starting 2024. I wanted to make this kind of video for a while. I really did a lot of research. So these are just my initial thoughts before we break down for what's in the later portion of the video. So especially with the 20 grand markup, it just doesn't make sense. I still don't know why any person that's using it for like a hot rod purpose or on what I'm going to be doing with it is going to buy a $100,000 truck. They'd rather just buy a truck that is like less than $40,000 to do most of their hauling and needing for their principal. Because even with Section 179, 168, and writing it off for your business, for most people, $100,000 for a truck just does not work. And they made so much of a change by doing a 30 to 50K hike with their pricing and then having the extended range battery to account for the people that want it. But then you're adding 16 grand on top of something like that. More on that one later. But this goes into the design that I wanted to go for this, which is a company that I've been following on TikTok first before I followed them on YouTube. It's called Edison Motors. And what they are doing is they are making semi-trucks that are hybrids essentially, but they're a battery mechanical chassis and then an electrical diesel generator that is able to pretty much drive $100,000, I mean, not $100,000, 100K loads of wood from the Canadian forest out into civilization. And the thing looks awesome. They have a great project. The problems that won't work with their truck version is that it doesn't support my thesis about recycling, because a lot of these people and companies are not able to recycle these. And I see these on Copart all the time, just go, go, go. And some of these cars go to landfills. So I'd rather get like a salvage Tesla and maybe an older Ram or something like that. That's why Tesla Charger project started in my operations. And what Edison Motors recommends is something called a Cat C 3.6 motor. Now, for what I was looking into for a crate motor was going to be at least $15,000 before shipping. And that is not even in the case or realm of possibilities in most kind of senses. And it doesn't support my ethos about something when I can see other products that are available. So another thing that really popped up is mainly the Cummins brands, whether it's 12, 24 valve. If I wanted to support it with the same vehicle and use the motor that comes with the vehicle, yes, that can work. But, and here's the big but, it's called weight at the end of the day. Weight is your biggest killer when it comes to almost every type of vehicle so far. So I was doing research into different motors, and one that really took my eye, because again, we're talking about 3.6 liter compared to a 4DT, which is more like 3.8, 4.2, depending if it's like a marine purpose, a commercial purpose, or a utility purpose, because a lot of these 4DTs came from generators that people are repurposing and doing swaps into their Rangers and stuff like that, mainly because it's a lighter engine comparison, and we're not going to be talking about the V8 Cummins and stuff like that, where they tried to reduce their weight, and there was a lot of engine block cracking and stuff like that, but that's another subject in its own matter. But for most of it, I want to have a reliable hookup. Now, what Edison Motors does is, because they are on a 600 volt architecture, it's not really the same as just getting a Tesla battery and Tesla motors. Now, the challenge first is, let's say, for example, I get a Model Y or a Model 3. It's a 400 volt architecture, and also at the same time, the back motor, the rear drive unit, manages most of everything. Now, the front motor is called a secondary or a slave motor, where it triggers all the responses from the primary motor, the master motor, in the rear. So what you really need to do is you need to be able to at least control the programs. Now, there's two ways of doing it. One way is with an auxiliary control unit. The second way is making sure everything with Tesla works operationally with the vehicle. So mechanically, everything can be completely different, but as long as the electronics talk the same, then you can use the Tesla ecosystem in order to make it work. That is what I'm going to be attempting for my initial run with this kind of Ram truck. Now, what I will have on screen is a brief CAD description for what I want to do. I want to be able to put it on the frame of the vehicle, and then right above it would be a modified flatbed and also a crew cab that would be on the front. Now, because there is going to be no motor in the front, what will replace that with this is a 4DT or a similar type of diesel motor that can be used as a generator standpoint system. Now, if I get it from a generator that doesn't have a good working electric motor, that they do exist in Facebook Marketplace, I would try to get something in those type of realms. Now, with that being said, the next part, which is something that is more of an auxiliary system than anything else, which is, in comparison, a project that I also would like to have, which is the same way that most of these electric trucks have, is a 50 amp plug or something along those lines, where you can be able to charge another Tesla or charge another electric vehicle from the bed, or you can weld or hook up like a sub panel box to the rear. It is a 1450 NEMA, and then also at least two 120 plugs. Now, this is more complicated in the United States than it is in Europe. So if you're trying to attempt to do something like this in Europe, it's a little bit easier for you. There are a few ways of hooking this up, and I will read to my notes for this. So the American version, you have to hook it up to the MPPT, which is the solar connection, towards a inverter. Now, it's a little bit tricky with that because you have to get past the contactors and how you have it specifically designed so that you can still be able to draw from the high voltage battery, because you have to have a certain type of inverter that is willing to be within the voltage of your battery. So most Teslas have voltages which are rated at 400 for the highest charge to the lowest charge standpoint. So if you're able to maintain voltage between those realms for you to draw, you can also put an emergency cutoff of at 10% of where your battery is. You would have to read the voltage prior, depending on what type of battery. This also varies because of conditions, climate, and whether you want to have the plugs energized or not, like what the Ford Lightning, the Cybertruck do currently, where you can be able to just do it right on the app. But the difference is, with the American version, you need to have a 48 volt buffer battery, because you're going to need to keep that perfect sine wave so that you don't have your electronics all screwed up from the receptacle that you come and pick it up in. Now, the European version, their inverters can support higher voltages. There's some inverters that can go up to 600 volts for the battery, but here in America, Off-grid inverters are mainly 48 volt for safety purposes, because that's normally the higher tier voltage once something is fully charged at 52 volts DC, which is safe to operate in. The one that's in with the inverters for the EU version, what they do is they do a direct hookup, and they use a simulated BYD interface that is flashed to your EU inverter so that it could work. Now, I will also have all these links down below if you choose to do something similar to what I'm doing. I just want this as a project so I can tow 14K that is very close to the RamCharger that's going to be presumably coming out in 2025. I have no faith or belief in any of these kind of projects until I see them made in person, just like the Cybertruck. But getting to it, now my final notes for day one of this is having the parts and materials. So in order for the aux power to work, I'm using an EG4 6000 XP inverter. It's a very cheap inverter in comparison to its 18K brother, and also just the fact of form factor. It's not waterproof, so more than likely it's going to be in the cab of the vehicle so that it is not away from the environment and weather. The second thing is obviously the Tesla battery, 400 volt Tesla battery. If I get a Cybertruck battery, everything gets more complicated. So I'm sticking towards things that I can find, obviously, in this kind of realm. The 48 volt buffer battery, EG4 also has a great product line of the EG4 Power Pro as the buffer battery. You can also step it up with 2 of them, 4 of them, but then at that point it becomes more into the weights of it, because these batteries aren't like light. Some of these batteries are like 160 pounds. Some of them are like 300 pounds. So putting more and more weight into the center of the vehicle or the bed of the vehicle complicates things. Getting into the other thing, a 240 volt breaker panel, because I want to be able to service this. That would also be in the actual cab of the vehicle, in more the seating position or something in the rear. Again, more utility purpose for this vehicle, because I want to be using it to tow and doing my own business for this. Now, back to the truck. Like I said, 4DT, something that could help with that. Like to keep the motors. There's something that would be adding to it. I don't know what Edison Motors is going to do with their generator, with doing the Cat C 3.6, but, and this is important, I'm still going to use a separate, so there will be 3 to 2 motors inside this truck. So I want 2 motors if I'm going to be doing all-wheel drive, and then a third motor for the generator. The third Tesla motor will then get spliced into the front connections so that it would be split from one motor to the other, but the other one won't be energized or given power from the Tesla environment, because there will be nothing from the Tesla ecosystem of that car connected to the third motor, which is a rear drive unit, either Model 3 or Model Y, so all the voltages play the same. What I was looking, and for one of the EG4 conversions people have really looked into the function of, is the TC2. It's a little pricey, $2,700 just for the module, but then you have full access from them. You can change your regen, because the regen will be used as the generating function for the Tesla charger, and make that work. So Kevin Erickson from the Facebook page that also made, I think it's called Electric, he made a Dodge that did a full Tesla swap for, and the thing looks nuts. I've watched his videos with it. He has a lot of fun with that kind of vehicle, and thank you for your conversations from the page that have helped me out a lot. So this is day one. This is just a brief overview of what's happening. If you want to support this kind of project, I will have a donation link down below. if you want to help me out. Any kind of suggestions that would help me out. The gearing, I don't really know. I think I might use the transmission to help with the RPMs. Don't really know for that yet. More on the line of putting like instead of a 9:1 gearing ratio, I would rather have a 4:1 gearing ratio or a 4:3:1 gearing ratio. Mainly so that it can spin at its peak efficiency, which for regen, it's around 55, 60 miles an hour, so that I can hit the peak torque band and having around 37 to 45 kilowatts. And if you guys really want to be a part of this project, Project Electrolyte. Sorry, that's one of my things. Again, I will have the project CAD file as well down below for what I'm going to be working with. I'm going to be learning on how to weld. It's going to be one of my bigger things. I'm probably going to do a montage for that or something like that. The truck, probably do a short video of buying the truck and how it's going to be working for it, and just a bunch of little things that are along the way. So if you guys really like to follow it, come on to this channel and see it. All right, see you guys.